So I'll just start with a quick presentation, just talking about few fundamentals about generative engine optimization and AI search. And then after like 5 to 10 minutes of covering that, just to create some background, then we'll get into actual sort of useful tools and stuff that you can use both to track your brand on different platforms like ChatGPT, Perplexity, Google AI overviews. And then after that, we'll also talk about what optimizations you can do to actually, any kind of experiments you can do to start ranking higher on generative search. So just getting started, I'll share my screen. All right, so hopefully you can see my screen. So as I mentioned, here's the game plan for today. First, I'm going to show you exactly how search has transformed in 2025. And like, trust me, rules have changed completely. Then we'll break down what GEO actually is, what AI search is, how is it fundamentally different from SEO, how does it also coincide with SEO in a way. And then third thing we'll also do is take you behind the curtain to see how AI search engines actually work. And understanding this alone will transform the way you think about AI search optimization. And then we'll also talk about certain techniques that will help you get your content and your brand cited in AI responses. These are tried and tested things that we have tested, few other industry leaders have tested. So we'll give you a peek on that as well. Right, so let's dive in. So here's a quick, like lightning quick journey about the evolution of search. So in the early 2000s, of course, Web 1.0 was quite simple. You used to get those 10 blue links. You clicked on them, websites got traffic, and that was it. And then around 2010, Web 2.0 came into the place. We started seeing featured snippets, knowledge panels, rich results. So it was still about getting clicks, but now you could get more visibility at the top of the page. And what we are experiencing in 2025 now, it's like a complete paradigm shift due to AI chatbots like ChatGPT, which released about 2.5 years back now. We have entered into the Web 3.0 search era, which is dominated by AI generated answers. And this is sort of changing the way most businesses think about getting traffic to their website. So goal is no longer just getting clicks, it's also about being cited. Because as you know, with AI overviews and some of the recent developments, even if you're getting less clicks, but you're getting cited more, indirectly there is some impact in terms of it brings in higher conversions, even though the amount of traffic might be lesser. So things are changing quite a bit at this time. And yeah, so for 20 plus years, the entire digital marketing industry has been built to drive traffic. And now suddenly it's about how your brand is being represented, digital PR, and just making sure that you are being presented as a response in every AI search platform that people are going and searching for. These numbers now, should set off alarm bells for anyone in the digital marketing space. So just in the past 6 months, up to 30% of Google searches now show AI overviews. This is a little bit of outdated data from like March. Probably this number is much bigger now. And for how-to queries, that jumps to 74%. So when these AI answers appear, organic click-through rates can actually plummet by up to 44%. And this is not just like a future trend, it's actually happening right now. Google has also already announced AI mode, if you're aware of. They're bringing like a ChatGPT or Perplexity like interface right inside Google. And according to their like articles and stuff, it's getting much better response than any other thing that they've released before. So very quickly, we'll talk about what exactly is generative engine optimization. So in simple terms, it's basically the practice of optimizing your content so that it is selected, cited, and featured in AI generated answers. So while traditional SEO focused on ranking in search results to get clicks, generative engine optimization, or some people call it answer engine optimization, it focuses on ensuring your brand and content are visible inside the AI response, even if the user never visits your website. So you want to be cited as a source, quoted as an authority, and referenced as a product or solution for any of these queries that your target audience is searching for. And these generative engine solutions include, of course, the big Google AI overviews, also the upcoming AI mode from Google, and then you have other solutions like ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude, and various other solutions. And most of them work in a similar way. So if you solve for one, it usually solves for all of those platforms instead of you having to worry about each one of them. And the user experience also matters quite a bit. So if you see this image, on the left side, you'll see how the traditional search works, where if someone searches for a best project management tool on traditional search, they get this experience. There's tons of ads. You probably see like 5 to 6 ads before you even reach to the first actual organic result. So there are ads everywhere, cookie notices, pop-ups all over the place. And same thing if you see on the right-hand side, when someone asks a similar question on AI, the answers are like immediate. There's no need to scroll. You get direct answers, you get citations for where that answer came from. And usually the answer that it also provides, it's based on a mix of different citations, not just based on one specific source. So that also adds a bit of trust factor for the user who is reading this. Also for us as marketers, it creates a huge challenge. Like, how do we ensure our brand is part of this new experience when the user never even visits our website? So that is exactly what we are going to talk about today. And before we get to that, let's try to understand this a bit. So if you see my screen here, this is like a quick diagram of how AI search actually works. So, and it is kind of very important for you to understand how things happen behind the scenes. So the very first thing is AI analyzes the question that the user sends to understand the real intent. And this is beyond keywords. It is more about the intent of the query that the user is asking. Then it retrieves relevant documents from the web or its knowledge base or index. This is called retrieval augmented generation, where it fetches the relevant documents from its index. Next, it will evaluate these sources for quality, relevance, authority. Certain EE80 factors also apply here in case of Google. And then basically, based on all of this, it uses these selected documents or sources to generate a comprehensive answer while giving citations to the best sources that it picked up. And then finally, there's like a feedback mechanism. So in most tools, there's like a thumbs up, thumbs down button based on which the model takes the feedback. And for the next set of models, those feedbacks are taken into account. And the key insight here is that these systems aren't just matching keywords. So keyword stuffing won't help you here. They're actually evaluating the usefulness and credibility of your content for answering specific questions. So you need to ensure that you're actually giving value and showing some authority rather than just stuffing a bunch of keywords, because it's very much possible that if you do overstuffing, AI might actually reject your response, even though you rank, let's say, in the top 10 results on traditional search. And wanted to spend a couple of seconds also just quickly to talk about RAG as well, which I mentioned stands for Retrieval Augmented Generation. So in simple terms, it's how AI systems pull relevant information from the web to answer questions. So when a user asks a question, let's say, the AI doesn't just make up an answer based on its pre-trained data set. So like, for example, how it used to be until a few months back on ChatGPT, that it would just create a response based on all the training it had. But now it is more about retrieving specific documents, using those documents as context so that there is some reliability to it, and then generating an answer based on those multiple sources. Now, which source gets picked, it is also really dependent on which chatbot you're asking that question on, because almost every chatbot has a little bit different re-ranking algorithm. So what you see if you, let's see the top 10 results on traditional search, when it pulls those to kind of generate an answer, it might shuffle them based on certain parameters. It would basically re-rank them. So it kind of depends model to model how it is going to see those results and then create an answer. Also, another thing here is if your content is not structured in a way that makes it easy for these RAG systems to extract information, then essentially your site will become invisible to these AI tools, no matter how good your content is. And there are a lot of people doing a lot of these complex websites with client-side rendering and all kinds of things, which does have some impact on if an AI model is able to scrape that content or not. And accordingly, you will see lesser citations or lesser times that your brand is being mentioned in these AI search platforms. Also, just to quickly clarify the difference between SEO and GEO, while both of them are needed at this time, the main difference here is, SEO, it used to be about keywords and rankings. GEO, as I mentioned, is more about citations. SEO aims at traffic, bringing traffic to your website. GEO is more about brand visibility. We'll talk a bit more about how you can measure it very soon. And then SEO aims at long form content. But nowadays, if you know, people have very short attention spans with TikTok and YouTube shorts and all these kinds of things. So people now prefer more direct responses, more precise responses, rather than reading like 3,000 or 5,000 word blog posts. So GEO basically aims for those precise, useful answers. And then SEO used to go for backlinks. Uh, Now, this is something that really depends. Right now, backlinks do play a part in SEO. And because GEO is using SEO results in some way for generating its answers, so it does play a bit of a role there. But as it kind of goes further, not sure if that will continue to be. It would be more about the authority signals, your brand value, how your brand is represented across like these top PR platforms and all those kinds of things. And just you don't have to take my word for this. This data is based on researchers from Princeton University and IIT who conducted like a fascinating study, testing different content optimization methods to see what actually works for a geo. And the results are quite interesting. So adding relevant quotations from authoritative sources actually boosted the visibility by up to 41%. So if you're using any authoritative sources as quotes in your content, that actually helps quite a bit. Second thing was if you include any statistics or data, that also showed that it improved visibility by up to 30%. So if you're adding some original data or some like interesting insights and statistics. Another thing is if you add citations and improve the content clarity and use sort of these FAQ based formats, those kinds of things also improve the overall visibility because the AI is able to better fetch and understand that information instead of going through like a 4,000 word blog and then summarizing it into a response. And these numbers come directly from there's a paper called Generative Engine Optimization, which is where this term GEO came from, which was published last year. We would recommend you check it out. It's like a 4 or 5 page research paper, quite a lot of interesting insights on how GEO works. So would definitely recommend checking that out once. And based on both sort of academic research and also our testing across hundreds of websites, these are sort of five uh, current sort of geo strategies that we have found that do play a good role in helping you optimize for AI search. So very first thing that we have, and I'll talk about all of them in detail in a bit. So very first thing that we have is to answer specific questions directly. So don't do like this, big blog post where the actual response is present in like the fifth section or something. Usually, if you're answering that question directly and in the first 2 or 3 paragraphs, like in the introduction of your article, that plays a big role because Google is able to directly, or any of these AI engines for that matter, are able to directly sense that, okay, the direct answer is available here. So it will use that in AI overviews or ChatGPT. And then, of course, if the user wants to read more, they come to your website and then check the rest of the article. Second thing, as we saw, is also including specific citations and data points through your content. Third is adding expert quotes. This also we discussed expert quotes and also citations. That helps with authority boosting. Fourth is Q&A format that plays a big role. And then fifth is optimize your images and videos for AI understanding. Now let's talk about each of them. Like we'll spend 10, 15 seconds on each of them. So the first thing I mentioned was to answer the questions directly. So look at this before and after examples. Before, if I wrote something like, email marketing best practices include segmenting your audience, blah, blah, blah. Instead of that, you basically answer it directly that, okay, what are the most effective email marketing practices, and you do 3 email marketing practices are this 1, 2, and 3. So AI system will prioritize this because it is seeing a direct answer. It does not need to summarize like a big article to get the same answer. Next, what we have is to include specific statistics and data points. So again, if you see on the left-hand side, if someone mentioned like our software helps businesses improve customer service, like very vague, right? Same thing you can improve by, it helps improve customer service by 37% with clients seeing 47% faster response times according. And then again, this is some authority that you need to add here or something to back that claim. So this is based on a survey of 5,000 plus or 500 plus users. So that statistics and data points to back any information plays a big role. Another one is expert quotes and citations. So if you can mention the name of someone or some sort of institution there, which is like an authority in that space, that plays a big role, because usually how, again, AI models work is there are certain sort of patterns that they have. So if they're seeing that this person is being cited as an authority, and other websites also cite this person, then it will associate it as an authority for that specific topic. So if you add that person as a quote, it helps you with ranking because Google already knows those signals there. And also, another thing here is PR strategy, like digital PR strategy to be exact. That plays a big role here because let's say Forbes is talking good about you, your overall visibility would actually, play a like in a positive way. But if there's something bad written by, let's say, Forbes or some bigger brands, bigger publications, that also has a negative impact on your brand visibility as well. So the sentiment, and we'll see how to monitor that sentiment, but that sentiment also gets negative on AI engines as well as a result of that. And then another thing is comparison table structured data. So structured data plays a big role. If you're able to use rich schema and all of those kinds of things, use table, use FAQ schemas, all those kinds of things, that plays a big role because AI is able to extract and understand it much clearly than like blobs of text. And then optimize for visual content. This is another thing that is very important. So any kind of, let's say, image or video that you are doing, you should add alt tags because that tag will also get scraped by AI and it will use that to, understand what that image is about. So the more descriptive that is, the better it is because it will, it scrape all of that information, like all of those alt captions will be scraped as well. So yeah, that was that. And then let's also examine how different AI platform algorithms prefer certain kinds of content to recommend. This is based on first page sales study of over 11,000 commercial queries. So if you look for ChatGPT, authoritative list mentions account for about 41% of their algorithm. So getting your um, brand mentioned in lists like listicles that rank highly in ChatGPT. And then the next few categories here are awards and accreditations, online reviews, customer examples, and social sentiment. But for ChatGPT specifically, this listicles authoritative list mentions play a big role because usually people go and ask, okay, what are the best tools for this or what are the best products for that? So that plays a big role. For Gemini, it weighs like authoritative list mentions again at even higher, and this is at 49%, and then followed by Google Website Authority at 23%, and then you have some of these other things. So one of the clear takeaways here is like securing mentions in high-ranking listicles. That should be like the top of your priority because most of those listicles are then read by AI. It, of course, does some sort of re-ranking. And one thing, actually, one interesting thing that we have seen is, let's say, if there are 5 or 10 listicles for your search term, let's say best AI platforms for SEO on Google search, and let's say if AI overviews or ChatGPT is using that, let's say if 4 out of those 10 listicles on page one mention about your brand, there's a very, very high chance that you'll be also mentioned in the listicle that ChatGPT or any other AI model gives as output. Whereas if you're only mentioned in one of those 10, the probability of you appearing in that response actually decreases quite a bit. So the more you are mentioned in these listicles, and specifically also page one or like top 15 results, if you're mentioned in most of them, that plays a big role in these models sort of showing you up because then it can create multiple citations for mentioning you. So if let's say 5 websites mention you, it has 5 citations to be added as a trust factor and a source to it. So listicles play a big role, and so do publications like high-ranking publications like like Forbes or whatever is good in your industry. And yeah, the growth sort of trajectory for AI search is like absolutely mind-blowing. So Google search volume grew by 21.64% in 2024, despite people saying that it's kind of decreasing, according to Google. But AI overviews itself, according to again Google data, are being used by more than 1 billion people worldwide. And what is interesting is that 76% of AI cited content actually comes from the top 5 Google results. So basically, SEO, as I was mentioning, also still plays a big role. So if you're ranking in the top few results, like say top 10 or 15, depending on the platform, because ChatGPT mostly uses Bing and their own index. Google AI Overviews, of course, uses Google. So being cited or being in the top 5, top 10 results also plays a big role in you being cited, not being mentioned, but being cited for sure. And now, just very quickly, in terms of priorities, right? For you as a brand, uh, what should you prioritize your time in? So this slide, if you see, recommends like the weekly time allocation based on this is based on research from First Page Say based on those 11,000 queries we talked about before. So the largest chunk of your time, about 3 to 5 hours per week, should go into increasing your of course, your website's authority, builds overall credibility in both AI search engines and also normal search engines. Next biggest chunk should be on securing placements, as we talked about, high ranking listicle articles. So this could involve creating your own articles if you are able to get yourself to rank in the first page of Google, as well as also you need to make sure that if there are any other listicles which are, let's say, third party or maybe even your competitors for that matter, if you are getting mentioned in most of those ones, it does play a big role. And then you should also spend some time like publicizing your company achievements, basically digital PR, like awards, notable clients, building positive reviews on Reddit and all these different platforms. Because as you know, there's like a deal with ChatGPT and Reddit and all these platforms. So Reddit and all these platforms do play a big role. So if you have good reviews, good, social media presence also in a way, that plays a big part in you being represented positively on AI search engines as well. And last thing I want to quickly talk before I wrap up the presentation and get into actually how you can track all of these things is if you heard of this Google's new AI mode, this is going to significantly change how search works because Google is really going to be pushing this very soon. Already live in US and certain countries. But this is like their answer to bringing bringing AI chat directly inside search. So do keep an eye out on this because shopping, e-commerce, search, everything is going to be linked to this, and this will play a big part in your brand being represented on search. So do keep an eye out on that. Um, Now I'll quickly jump to showing some actual tools and way that you can actually track all of this. So there are certain tools that we built out. Let me quickly share my screen. All right. So hopefully you can see my screen. So I'll talk about two tools that we recently built out. One of them is totally free to use. Let's start with that. So this is our tool. It's called AI Traffic Analytics. Now, one big problem, if you have not already noticed, is that the data that you see on traditional analytics platforms, like whether it is Google Analytics or any other tool that you use, they're not able to track a lot of the invisible bot traffic. So a lot of websites, almost every website that is on traditional search is also getting a lot of invisible AI traffic. What that means is when you search something on ChatGPT, you know that ChatGPT will go and scrape certain websites and then create a response, right? But the user might not click on those citations, in which case, it's only when a human clicks on those citations that is when Google Analytics tracks that visit as a referrer from, let's say, ChatGPT. But otherwise, if the user doesn't click on those citations or those links inside ChatGPT, then Google Analytics doesn't detect it. It's only the human visits that Google Analytics or any other analytics tool is able to track. So what we have done here, this is a completely free tool. You don't need a subscription or anything like that. It's called AI Traffic Analytics. It's part of our Generative Engine Optimization suite. So you just need to install a script, a server-side script, tracking script on your website, and our team can help with that. Once you install it, you'll start seeing very interesting data. So if you see here, in the last 30 days alone, we have gotten about 2.5 million. This is the real data, by the way, 2.5 million visits from different AI models. And I'll talk about what those AI models are, but that many different invisible AI visits where the different AI engines are visiting our website, scraping our content, using it for pre-training or using it for answering users' queries in search, but that is not trackable on your Google Analytics, right? and total 6,600 pages indexed or crawled by these different AI engines. And you can see the trend. It varies quite a bit. At this time, I think Google was scraping quite a bit of our website. So that's why you can see a peak here, but usually it kind of stabilizes. So what we are able to show here, if you see the top sources, this is one of the most interesting bits. You are able to see all the different platforms that or AI models that are visiting our website and scraping us. So if you see here, OpenAI, and there are, by the way, three bots that OpenAI has. One bot is ChatGPT user. This is basically the AI assistant. Whenever, like most people use ChatGPT, this is used to actually go and read the websites and generate content. Then you also have this thing called GPT bot. This is the AI data scraper. So what this means is, let's say if OpenAI right now is working on training GPT-5 or the next model, that scraper is visiting your website, and probably GPT-5, whatever current content that you have, which it is scraping here, that data will be used to define how your brand or any other brands are represented on GPT-5. So that is also a big, like important part to make sure you keep an eye out on these AI data scrapers versus AI assistant. AI assistants are more real time. So basically, this analytics tells you which bots are scraping your website. You can also click view details. It would show like 30 other bots. But if you can already see, OpenAI plays a big role, the assistant. We have gotten about 160,000 AI bot visits in the last 30 days from OpenAI. 7,000 AI data scraper visits from OpenAI. So basically for GPT-5 or whatever next model is. And then we have Perplexity. We also have um, ByteDance, which is interesting. ByteDance, I think it's TikTok. So they are also probably scraping some data for some AI model probably that they're working on. That's why it is classified as AI data scraper. And similarly, you can see other models. If you click on view all details, it will show you Claude and DeepSeek and all those other models. Another thing that you can see here is, by the way, if anyone has any questions, please keep typing in Q&A. Our team will answer those, and also towards the end of the call, I'll also cover some of those. So yeah, the other thing here is top pages. So you can see exactly what content is being scraped by these different AI models. You can also click on any of these to apply a filter and only see the pages that are, let's say, being scraped by the OpenAI or Perplexity or any of these platforms. But it tells you like, okay, they are coming to our Chatsonic page or our these other pages. So you can track all of that. And also it tells you when it was last indexed. So just for example, let's say OpenAI bot came to our website just now. This is in real-time data, by the way. Same thing, they hit our homepage. So that is why it is being shown here. And then what you can also see is like a human level thing that from which scrapers, how many times was your website hit and how many humans came from it. So here, if you see some of the numbers, Writesonic one, that's an outlier. Ignore that. That's specifically for our website. But OpenAI and Perplexity and all of these, you can see that there were 12,000 humans who clicked on some link on OpenAI and visited our website in the last 30 days. So you can track the human level data also. Same for pages. So this is the data for AI, where AI bots came to our website, and this is for humans. And you can also do a comparison between both. So how many humans, how many AI, all those kinds of things, right? So this is what we call AI traffic analytics. It's free to use setup. Feel free to log in on Writesonic and install this. And our team can help with any installation because this only works on um, sort of websites that allow you to basically install server-side tracking, right? So make sure you install any server-side scripts that we provide, and you'll be able to use this. Second thing that I want to show now, apart from this AI traffic analytics, it's even more interesting. This is our brand presence tracker. So I'll quickly walk through what it does. But in a high level, what we have done here is we have created a brand here for, let's say, Canva. So let's say for this demo, we wanted to monitor how Canva is being represented relative to their competitors, right? So if you see my screen here, there are a couple of metrics. Visibility score, which is basically how much percentage of chats that Canva is appearing in. And how we monitor this, just to take a step back, is you define certain topics and prompts that are important to you as a brand. and I'll show you what that means. So when you do onboarding, we'll ask you to tell us who your competitors are and what are the topics that are of relevance to you. So in this case, let's say there are 5 topics, let's say, that Canva cares about: presentation design and templates, document design and collaboration, social media content creation. So like that, you can define, let's say, a bunch of topics which are relevant to you as a brand where you want to be represented, right? And the next thing then that we have is also within each topic, you can click on it. And there are certain prompts that we automatically generate based on our the patterns that we have learned about AI chatbots. But you can also at any point add a prompt. So prompts are basically, I mean, you know what prompts are, but for each topic, you can associate certain prompts. So for example, if I'm talking about presentation design and templates, my prompt could be, best free presentation design tools for beginners, or best presentation design tools which are free. So like that, you can define a bunch of prompts, and we also provide AI generation for this. So if you don't want to manually define this, with AI itself, you can, during onboarding, define all of these prompts. At any time, you can come and update or delete them. And like that, you do it for all the topics that you care about. Let's say, for example, if you're a product company and there are 3 products that you have, then for each of those products, maybe you have one topic. Um, and within each topic, you can define all of these prompts. Now, what we do is, on a daily basis, for each of these prompts, we'll send queries to different AI models. So if you see here, so these are the 3 models that we are tracking right now. We have Google AI Overviews, we have Perplexity, and ChatGPT. So for all of these 3 AI models, we'll send these prompts on a daily basis to these AI models. And you can see here that the next prompts for my project will process in 16 hours. So on a daily cadence, we'll be sending these prompts to these AI models. And what we then do is we'll analyze each one of these prompts to come up with insights around what percentage of prompts were you present in as a brand? What was the average position? What is the sentiment of your brand across those prompts, right? So if you see the scores here, first is visibility score, in which case, let's say for Canva, it is 80%. 80% means that out of, let's say, if we ran, just as an example, let's say if we ran 100 prompts, out of 100 prompts, on average, 80 prompts mention about Canva as a platform for whatever presentation design and all the social media and all these designs. Like overall, right? And then it also shows you a percentage trend over last month, because we just set up this data like 2 days back. That's why it's showing an 80% increase. But once it starts tracking data, you'll see more defined sort of intervals there. Second thing is average position. So average position is basically if there are, every chat response presents, let's say, five tools or solutions. Some do 10, some do 5, right? So we'll take an analysis of all of those and figure out what is the average position of your brand across all of these prompts. So in this case, let's say for Canva, the prompts that we are monitoring, for those, its average position is 2. And then we have also sentiment, which is basically positive, negative, neutral, but we have also given it a number that how much percentage sentiment is there, so that you can track it on a week to week or like a month to month basis. And then you can also filter here. So let's say if you only want to see data for ChatGPT or AI overviews, you can just apply that filter and it would only show you the numbers for that. Same thing you can do for your competitors, that, okay, I don't want to see all the competitors, I only care about this one. So you can also see that data. And then similarly, you can also see the data at a topic level, not on all level, but let's say only specific presentation design or something that you care about. And this is like one of the most important parts here. So you get this AI visibility leaderboard, which basically tells you how you are performing and how some of your competitors are performing. And you can also add more brands here. So if you uh, go here, you'll see many other competitors, but it tells you that, okay, what is the average position that Canva has? What is the visibility, sentiment? Same thing for Adobe Express or Figma or whatever other competitors that are being monitored. And this is something actually competitors during onboarding, you'll be able to define those. And we also recommend certain competitors based on the prompts and the responses we are seeing. So it's not that you just need to stick to what you have given. We also proactively suggest competitors based on based on the analysis that we are doing of different AI responses. And then the other thing here is this chart. This shows you as a chart, like how is your visibility over time? Like you can, let's say here, see for the last 4 days. Similarly, what is the position over time? What is the sentiment over time? So all of these things you can monitor relative to your competitor. And yeah, based on that, you can take a decision there. Next thing that we have here is top prompts, which are driving visibility for Canva. So we talked about visibility here, but now this is at a prompt level, that which specific prompts are working for Canva, which are talking about Canva in a good way, whether it is good sentiment or the average position is number one, right? And the visibility is 100%. So you can see what other competitors were also mentioned here. And the interesting thing here now is for each of these prompts, you can actually also click on it and see the exact response that came from that model. So in this case, if you see, this was ChatGPT. So you can see there was a neutral sentiment, and this was the exact response when we queried ChatGPT for that query on May 10th. That was the response that came from ChatGPT, and these were the brands that were covered. And it also tells you which exact sources were used to come up with that response. Because if you, again, use ChatGPT, every response that it gives, which is backed by search, it does give you citations for where that information came from. So you can also see that. And I'll show you some interesting things here also. But this is a very cool thing where you're able to track the exact chats. Let's say in this case, if I see best AI tools for automated graphic design, right? So again, you can see what was the exact response that came. In this case, Canva was presented on second position and Adobe was presented on first. And also you can see which citation was used to come up with that response. Now, what you can do is, let's say if TechPoint.Africa is talking about Adobe Firefly as the first thing, you can probably reach out to them as I was talking about listicles and stuff, right? So you can reach out to them if it's a relevant article. And if I click on this, I'll actually open this quickly. Okay, it went to some other random link. Let me, yeah, here. Okay, somehow that link is broken. But anyway, you can see exactly which blog or listicle from, let's say, different platforms was used to give that response. And then you can reach out to them, in this case, let's say TechPoint.Africa, and ask them to mention, let's say, Canva or your brand in the top place. Like you can either do a paid thing or you can just do like an organic thing, like, hey, why don't you mention our brand also, right? So those kinds of things that you can do. And yeah, other mentions you can see here. Next thing here, as I was talking about, is sources. So you also want to understand what are the sources that are mentioning you. Sources as in which websites were used as citation to, answer some query where you were mentioned. So you can optimize more for that. So in this case, if we talk about the brands mentioning Canva, you can see that, okay, all these sources are the ones which talked about Canva. And what was the usage frequency? Which other brands were mentioned there? Is it the third party source? Is it a competitor's, like competitor's own blog, or it is a first party source, like your own blog, which was used to talk about Canva in any response? So all of this data you can track. Another thing, of course, is if you click on it, you can also apply a filter and see all the charts specifically where this source was mentioned. So that is something that you'll be able to do as well very soon. This is not live yet, but you'll be able to do that. And then you can also click on show citation gaps. Citation gaps will tell you uh, what sources are giving citations to your competitors, but not to you. So it gives you a citation gap. And then you can reach out to those, like we talked about TechPoint.Africa. So you can reach out to those specific blogs or publications which didn't mention you to also mention you. So that way you can increase your visibility for some of these prompts. And then the next thing that we have here is topic overview. Topic overview basically tells you for those 5 topics, not the prompts, but those broader topics, across all of those prompts for those topics, how is your brand, how is your brand's visibility versus how is Figma doing versus Adobe or Google or Snap or any of the other competitors for that matter. So you can see that, okay, AI powered design automation, Figma has the best visibility, whereas presentation design and templates, Canva has the best visibility. So like that, you can track also on a overall topic level, who is doing better and who is not doing better. Same thing, you can also track the positions as well. Like where are the actual positions, average positions across each of these topics. And yeah, based on that, you can come up with certain insights. Now, one thing here is there's a lot of different data points here. You can apply various kinds of filters. Like for example, if I do, let's say Figma, what this will do is it will, if you see, it changed all the data and it is showing me how my brand is performing relative to Figma. So if I talk over like a 30-day period, um, like it tells me that I have a 7% higher visibility score than Figma on average, right? Similarly, average position, my increased and my sentiment also increased a bit compared to Figma. So you can also do that. Similarly, you can also see the graph specific for Figma or any of those ones to do a comparison as well. And so I'll just go back. Same thing you can also see, as I mentioned, on a model level, that you only care about, let's say, Google AI overviews. Then you can filter by that, or on a topic level as well. Other thing that a lot of users that we have been working with have been asking us is about actionable insights, which you see on the sidebar. It is coming soon. So we are planning to go live with this in the next week or so. But basically the question people ask is, okay, now what? What do we now do now to optimize once we have all of this data, right? So there is some level of AI recommendations that we are providing here. For example, let's say we mentioned that, okay, Tech Radar is mentioning other brands, but they have not talked about your brand. So you should maybe reach out to Tech Radar, and that specific article link also we give here, and you can reach out to them and basically ask them to also include you there. So these kinds of AI recommendations will provide. Second thing is also it suggests which competitors to monitor. So in this case, it's saying that, okay, Microsoft, because of Microsoft has some design tool, I guess, Microsoft and these two are ranking highly for your brand targets. So like some of the prompts that you care about. So it's recommending that, okay, maybe you should also track these as competitors. Again, this is up to you if you want to track it or not, but we give certain suggestions like that. And with actionable insights, it would be more in-depth suggestions. Like we'll tell you that, okay, on this blog, go and optimize your title to this, or change your, add this line to your introduction, and so on. So that actionable insights is also coming soon. But for now, you can use it as a very strong analytics tool for your AI search. So it's kind of like Ahrefs for AI search. You can get all of these different data points. And as I mentioned before, any of the topics and queries can be configured here. So you can go anytime here, maybe remove them or add any new ones. You can group them by intent, see which one you care more about. Is it commercial intent or informational intent? And similarly, competitors also that we are tracking, you can change or update at any point. So yeah, that was a quick overview. For AI traffic analytics, as I mentioned, this is totally free to use. You can sign up today. There's no money or anything we charge for this. For this one, we call it brand presence tracker. This is like a very like state-of-the-art solution, one of the most advanced ones in the market. So if you would like to try this out, if you're a brand and want to use this for your own brand or your clients, our team will share a link in chat. So this is like an exclusive thing. We are not giving access for this to like open access to this right now. We would want to jump on like an onboarding call where we'll directly work with you to understand the requirements and help you set up these different queries and topics and competitors so that you're able to make the best use of the product there. So if you have an interest in that, our team will share the link in the chat. So do reach out to us. We'll schedule a call and we'll personally onboard you here and work with you to define the KPIs that you care about in terms of ranking and optimizing for AI search. So yeah, I think that was one thing. And very quickly, I'll go back to the slides. I'll very quickly talk about few mistakes that you should sort of avoid with GEO. So hopefully you can still see my screen. Yeah. So just a couple of quick slides on some mistakes and stuff that you should be sort of avoiding based on our analysis of hundreds of websites that we see doing same mistake. So very first is like keyword stuffing in the Q&A format. So a lot of people still do a lot of keyword stuffing. They try to put a bunch of those keywords in that set of question and answers. But just because you've structured the content as question answer doesn't mean you have to cram keywords into them. These AI systems are sophisticated enough to understand the language patterns, so you could actually get penalized and not get used for that. So I definitely use the Q&A format, but don't do like keyword overstuffing. Second is, uh, as I mentioned, statistics plays a big role in getting cited in AI responses. But please do not mention any facts or any statistics without verification, because many times people just go to ChatGPT, ask it to generate something, and just use it directly on their content. That we have seen also, it plays like it's like a dangerous role, let's say, because many times you're citing some made up statistics, and this plays a negative impact in terms of AI search. So always verify the data and add citations and sources, actual sources, trustable sources, there before you publish that content. Third is focusing only on high volume topics. So again, as I mentioned, GEO is a bit different from SEO. Most of the queries on GEO are actually long tail queries, whereas on search it's more smaller set of keywords. So don't just go for those high volume topics. Optimize for what your users are searching for, basically the intent. That is what will matter more for you in AI search. And then fourth is optimizing without measuring the results. Again, that's like you're doing all this effort and everything, but you're not able to track how it's trending over time. So definitely use a platform to measure how the week on week or month on month improvement is over the topics that you care about. And then final one is like trying to optimize for all AI platforms at once. So there are some subtle differences between all these AI platforms, while most of them work in a similar way. But there are some subtle differences. So I would recommend see where your audience is and maybe pick one platform, whether it is ChatGPT or Google AI Overviews. AI Overviews is still the biggest traffic driver. So just stick with one thing, optimize for it, and then basically try the same experiment. See if it also ranks on, let's say, ChatGPT, and then maybe iterate over it and try some other experiments at that point. Um, this I'll just very quickly skip. So here's like, just uh, a simple action plan to get you started with, GEO today. The very first thing is just identify your most valuable content, pages which are driving conversions that answer prospects' questions directly, and focus on topics that, genuinely demonstrate authority. Because as we talked about, it's all about expertise, even with AI models. Next, start with one page as an experiment, convert it to Q&A format, answer the question directly in the first few paragraphs, add statistics, quotes, citations. So all of these experiments, try on a one page or a couple of pages instead of doing it for your whole site, and then see how that experiment goes, and then go from there. And then other thing also here is like to get mentioned in authoritative lists. Listicles play a big role if you're trying to rank for any kind of products or services. So make sure you are getting cited in listicles and you are reaching out to people that are ranking on first page of Google also, or Bing for that matter, to make sure you are also included in those lists. Because the more lists you are included in, that actually increases the chance of you being mentioned in AI responses. And also measure the impact. So check the AI citations before you do that experiment and after you do the experiment. Also monitor the traffic and conversion changes, and then expand to more pages based on that. And yeah, that's kind of about it for this webinar. Hopefully you learned some like good things about a couple of things we talked about. We are open to Q&A now. So if you have any questions, please type it in Q&A if those have not been already answered. And as I mentioned, if you want to get access to AI traffic analytics, it's totally free. Sign up on writesonic.com. If you want the brand presence thing, which I showed after that, we would love to set up a personalized demo, show you around, help you set up personally for the queries and everything that you want to track. So yeah, do sign up for that as well. And I'm just posting the link here once again. So you can go to this link. There's a form you can submit for that personalized demo. And we would be happy to set up a call and walk you through how we can help you track your AI visibility and how to also optimize for it. But yeah, now I'll take some quick questions. So I think Swati Srivastava mentioned some of these tactics are contradictory, such as SEO works well for long form content. However, AI prioritizes direct and precise answers. How do we make them work together? So this is something, Swati, like everyone is trying to sort of analyze and experiment right now. So many times what happens is from our experience, for example, we are doing long form content, but there are certain tweaks that you can do. One of them being that you directly answer that question, let's say in like one line in the first 2-3 paragraphs of your blog. So it's still long form content, but you're just trying to cover it in the first part of your blog itself. And then FAQs is something that is not something that it needs to be exclusive. What you can start with as an experiment is just between your text or after your text, put a couple of FAQs, which are based on people also ask questions or certain questions that people are asking on AI search, and start with that as an experiment and see how that goes. Because yeah, everyone is trying to experiment. Different things work for everyone. So just try that and see. Could you share the reference or link of the study mentioned earlier, the science behind GEO from Princeton? That one, I think I was referring to it's an article, it's a research paper, which is called Generative Engine Optimization. So if you just search for Generative Engine Optimization on Google, there's a paper hosted on archive. So that is the paper. It is from 2024. Maybe our team can also share a link if we have it, but that's the name of the paper. And the other study I talked about was from First Page Sage. That also we'll send both of those links actually in the email after the webinar. Okay, Radu asked, I'm running an activation growth agency. I thought of creating programmatic SEO pages and managed to get AI bots to crawl them. How would you start this process? It's a similar process, Radu. So like first you need to, get them indexed in traditional search. If you have some brand authority there, that plays a big role in AI search also. So try to first get them indexed there. And then basically some of these things that I shared about, FAQs or using a Q&A format or some of these other things, try to incorporate that in your programmatic page structure. So the initial page that you create, which is the template page for rest of your pages, just try to incorporate some of those best practices there. I'm sure like it will, help both with traditional search and also GEO. It will help with picking up. And then you can see, run experiments, see which ones are being cited, monitor those, and then optimize that template, because that one template will, uh, affect all of those pages. So just make sure that you are running some predefined sort of experiments rather than doing it for the entire website at once. Just try certain experiments and see what works for you. I think Sid asked writesonic.com/blog, the blog posts here, are they AI generated or human generated? So we use a mix of both. So we have a product called AI Article Writer. So a majority of it is generated using that. And then our team works on proofreading it, editing it, and making sure it's polished before publishing it. So it's a mix of AI and human that we do. We don't fully depend on AI and we don't fully depend on humans. It's a hybrid approach that we take. Yeah, would recommend the same as well. Okay. Next one. How can GEO be scaled effectively for large websites with 500 plus service pages? This is something actually we are working with some brands exclusively to try to determine and work with them to basically implement a similar approach. So yeah, Mehzia, I think that's how you pronounce your name. You can fill in that form. We would love to talk to you, show you the initial product, and also work with you to help you scale to those 500 pages. It's something we are trying for a few other brands. So definitely get in touch and we'll work with you to scale it to 500 or even 1,000 pages there. Do you recommend using Q&A format in blogs or service pages or both? I would recommend in both. Doesn't really matter because that FAQ format plays a big role. So we, for example, if you check any of our landing pages or if you check any of our blogs, we try to cover FAQs or Q&A format in both of them. Service pages, of course, first you need to start with the value props, and then you can do it in a Q&A format. So you can't just be Q&A on a service page. It first needs to talk about your service and then Q&A. Q&A format to be used throughout the page or part of it. Again, this is something that people have tried different experiments on. So just see what works for your industry. But we have seen success with entire Q&A format, and we have also seen success with just Q&As being mentioned in the last few parts of the blog. Just see what works for your specific industry, and if Google prefers which one for your industry, and then see, like, go from there. Then we have, what is a good enough DR score to rank in AI traffic? What are the traditional SEO metrics that still matter here? So actually, DR in AI does not play that big of a role. It is more about your authority and your brand presence there. But one big part that traditional SEO plays is that if you're indexed for a specific set of queries on traditional search and you're ranking, let's say in the top 2 pages, or let's say top 15 responses, that plays a very big role. DR as such does not play a big role. Of course, DR will play a big role in traditional search, but once it is in traditional search in, let's say, top 15 results or so, then your brand presence and your authority and a couple of these other factors play a bigger role than your actual DR. So AI search, it does not matter that much. It's a combination of factors that matter. Traditional search plus your brand awareness, your visibility, and so on. Rory asked, have you guys experimented with shadow sites with text format and image only, and then pointing the AI index scrape to remove the HTML code? Okay, that's very interesting. We have not tried this, but that's definitely an interesting experiment to try out and see. If that works, that's a great hack. Yeah, I mean, definitely try it out. We'll also try it out. That's a very interesting suggestion. Thanks for sharing that. Jay asked, I've got another question. I got training from pledge.ai for AEO. There are apps that optimize for AEO. Is there any app in Writesonic for optimize the whole web for GEO? I'm not I'm not familiar with that platform, but in terms of, there are some hacky solutions for sure to optimize for GEO, but those are not like long-term solutions because the algorithms are being updated on a very frequent basis. So I wouldn't recommend going for any hacky solutions. It's like SEO, you need to think long-term and build long-term. Of course, short-term also you need to have something. So not totally sure on that. We'll check that out and get back to you. But on Writesonic right now, as I showed, there are two tools. One is AI traffic analytics, two is brand presence tracking. So you can already track data, you can compare with competitors. Actionable insights, which is what are the exact things you can do to improve, that we are coming up with in a week or two. So keep an eye out on for that. For Geo, you need to have good SEO and authority. Yeah, SEO depends. If you're, for example, ranking for long tail keywords, which might be relevant, like niche keywords, that is more than enough in many cases if you're just going for those kinds of ones. But if traffic is more important to you, then in that case, yeah, of course, you need to be ranking in traditional search also for some of those higher volume terms, and other listicles should also be covering you. So traditional SEO, digital PR, it's a combination of both that works for Geo. Cool. So I think we went through almost all the questions. Thanks a lot, everyone, again for joining. AI traffic analytics, as I mentioned again, feel free to sign up on writesonic.com and try it out. And the brand presence solution, that's a very exclusive solution. If you want to get a demo of that, do sign up on our website. We have shared the link. So writesonic.com/generative engine optimization GEO. So just sign up on that, and our team will set up a personalized demo for you early next week, and we can show you around, set it up for your specific account, and go from there. Until then, yeah, thanks a lot for listening in, and we'll see you in the next one. Thank you.